Good evening. Will the meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission for Wednesday, August 7th, 2019 please come to order? For the benefit of those who may not have participated in a Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, our procedures are as follows. 1, the Secretary will read the legal call of the meeting as published in the local newspapers. 2, the applicant will be invited to come forward and present the case, explaining to the Commission and others present what is being requested of this property. Comments of town agencies will be read for each application, if there are any. There will be clarifying questions from the commissioners. Then there will be the opportunity for clarifying questions from the audience. First, those who wish to support the application may come forward, and second, those who wish to oppose the application will be invited to come forward. As this is a public meeting, it must be recorded. It is necessary for speakers to identify themselves and state their name and address before addressing the commission. 4, the applicant is then free to leave or remain for the balance of the public hearing and regular meeting, at which time the commission will try to reach a decision on each application. Each applicant will be notified in writing as to the decision of this commission and has the right to appeal to Superior Court if desired. 5, decisions of this meeting are available the day after the meeting by calling Planning and Zoning Office 203-453-8039 after 9 a.m. Seated this evening are the following members: Matt Yerzinski, Richard Wallace, I'm Philip Johnson, Alan Brown, Scott Edmonds, Jason Marchi, Michael is not here, Jamie Stein, and Frank DeAndrea. Aaron Mannix will be doing double duty as our zoning enforcement officer and the secretary for the meeting this evening. Our videographer is Peter Schultz, and the secretary will now read the legal notice.
Notice is hereby given that the Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission will hold a public hearing on August 7th, 2019 at 7:30 p.m. at location Nathaniel B. Green Community Center, 32 Church Street, Guilford, Connecticut, Monunketuck Room, 2nd floor, for the following purposes: Timothy J. Lee, Esquire, William and Gina Hagan, 27 Dinwoody Drive, map 100, lot 613, zone R5, special permit accessory apartment for attached one-bedroom accessory apartment. Bennett Hall, trustee, 135 Old Quarry, map 6, lot 6B, zone R5, coastal site plan to subdivide parcel into 2 lots with existing residence and studio to remain. New septic systems proposed for each lot. Richard and Eileen Petrillo, 68 Trolley Road, map 8, lot 63A, zone R2, coastal site plan for new single-family residence. Bernard and Sandra Lombardi, 70 Reeves Avenue, map 9, lot 76, zone R2, special permit modification for a 10-foot by 12-foot storage shed and 6 by 9 foot 6 inches addition to a former rear porch to create a sunroom. Copies of these applications are available for inspection in the office of the Planning and Zoning Commission, Town Hall South, 50 Boston Street, Guilford, Connecticut. At this hearing, persons may attend and be heard, and written communication will be received. Dated at Guilford, Connecticut, this 16th day of July, 2019. Phil Johnson, Chairman.
Thank you. If anybody's here for either the Bennett Hall application public hearing or the Richard and Eileen Petrillo, both of those have been tabled, or actually, I should say, we will be continuing the Bennett Hall to 8/21, and we're tabling the Petrillo to 9/4, so we will not be hearing those tonight. Just didn't want to have anyone sitting here waiting. So that being said, the first item tonight will be William and Gina Hagan, 27 Dinwoody Drive, map 100, lot 6-13, zone R5, special permit accessory apartment for attached 1,144 square foot, one-bedroom accessory apartment.
Good evening.
Hello.
For the record, my name is Timothy Lee. I'm an attorney with the law firm of Fasano, Ippolito, Lee, and Florentine with an address of 388 Orange Street in New Haven. I'm here tonight on behalf of Bill Hagan, who's seated in the audience. It's our application for a special permit to allow an accessory apartment. And there's an interesting story behind this application. Mr. Hagan and his wife purchased the property in 2002. They had the exact house that's there built in 2003. When the house was built, it was built designed as a 6-bedroom house with 4 bedrooms in the main house and 2 bedrooms in an attached accessory apartment. They thought that the property was approved or could be used as an accessory apartment. It's been used as their house and accessory apartment for their in-laws for the last 15 years. They went to do a refinance a couple months ago. Their appraiser went into town hall to verify that it was a single-family house with an accessory apartment. The town said, whoops, we don't have any approvals on record for the accessory apartment. Submit an application to planning and zoning, ask for a special permit to legalize the accessory apartment. That's what we're doing here tonight. Hopefully you'll approve that accessory apartment. Mr. Hagan can go on, get his refinance, and the world can go on in no different format than the world is going on for the last 15 years. There is two things I just want to clarify for the record. The accessory apartment is 2 bedrooms and not 1 bedroom. For some reason, the legal notice read 1 bedroom, but the way the house is designed, there's 4 bedrooms in the main house, and there's 2 bedrooms in what's deemed the accessory apartment. So, the house is basically in L shape, as you can see, and this is, basically there's 2 in one wing, and there's 6 units in the other wing. The other thing we're asking for is a waiver of the requirement that we submit a site plan. As I said before, this has been in existence since 2002 without any complaints or even knowledge from the neighbors that we required a special permit to house Bill's in-laws at the property. We do have adequate parking for both the main house, and since it's 2 bedrooms, we have adequate parking for 2 cars for the accessory apartment. And I do have some pictures I can show the commission to show that there's a two-car garage. And there's it's a wide driveway, wide parking area.
And is it behind the garage? Is that the way I'm seeing it?
It's correct, yeah.
Thank you.
Like an L shape.
Aaron, does it meet all of the requirements with respect to accessory apartments?
From the zoning, yes.
And septic, I'm assuming we've got some
We
type
have
of
a
letter.
memo from Dennis Johnson, Director of Health, to read into the record as well.
And just submit the proof of mailings to the town as well. So we'll make it- things for the record.
And the septic system approval was given with the knowledge that it's actually a 2-bedroom unit and not a 1-bedroom?
I'm not sure what the memo says. I had a conversation with the sanitarian in town who is not, must work for Dennis Johnson. I forget the individual's
Lee
name.
Archer.
Yeah. And when the septic system originally got approved, it was approved for a 6-bedroom house. And when you're doing the accessory apartment, they don't judge it the same as a 6-bedroom house. They consider it a 4-bedroom house and then a 2-bedroom house. So the calculation for the septic system is a little bit different. So in my conversation with Lee Archer, he indicated that there were 2 possibilities. One, that the septic system could be adequate to house the accessory apartment and the house, but to have our septic guy just verify that the next time he went out to service Bill's house. Or 2, if it wasn't adequate, he would need to add, and I forget the exact number, maybe 5 feet of leaching fields to make it work. I don't have that.
Dated July 31st. Subject, Lee Timothy Esquire, Hagan, William and Gina, 27 Dinwiddie Drive, map 100, lot 6-13. The applicant's proposed 1-bedroom apartment use is compliant with the design capacity for the septic system currently serving the residential home. It is recommended this applicant's proposal be approved.
Well, I like his letter better than my explanation, but that being said, it's still, we probably need to just clarify. My conversation with Lee Archer was that it was probably going to be okay, but we'd need to verify it with our septic guy when he went out there.
Another quick question. In the construction process, I hate to assume, can I assume that it was all inspected by the building official?
This, there will be a retroactive permit that would be required
Okay.
to be issued
So
from the
basically,
building.
the building permit is taken out, and then the building official comes out and inspects just to make sure everything is...
Yeah, I mean, the house was inspected in 2003 when it was built, and everything passed inspection. There was an indication in what's called the accessory apartment that it was a future kitchen area, but the kitchen area wasn't built out. So when the town signed off on the building permit, I think the town was under the impression that it was not going to be used as an accessory apartment. Bill took the notation on his architect's plan to mean that they could have an accessory apartment. So it got built out the way it is now, but the town has it in the books as just a single-family home, whereas Bill's treated it as an accessory apartment, and we're here to legalize that treatment.
So we've seen a few of these before, and so the concern obviously that we always have is that it's safe and it's code compliant, and so that's kind of a procedure that we ask applicants to follow, and
Yeah.
it's usually very quick and straightforward, but,
I don't-
it's things like, GFI plugs and stuff like that. So,
Yeah, I don't think we'd have a problem with that.
Any questions from commissioners? Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak in favor of this application? Or any clarifying questions from the audience? Would anyone like to speak against the application? Okay.
Motion to close the public hearing.
This is one where you have the option
Right, so-
to waive the continuing.
I'm comfortable waiving the second public hearing on this.
Yeah, because it's existed.
Well, that, and I think it's pretty straightforward. There's no objection from neighbors, and it's been here a while. Town seems to be pretty up on it. And they're going to be inspected and taken out anyway, so someone like to make a motion to waive the second public hearing?
I'll make the motion to waive the second public hearing.
Alan's got a second. All in favor? Thank you. Someone like to make a motion to close?
Make a motion to close the public hearing. You want to vote on this?
Second.
Sure, we can do that.
Got a proposed motion, voted that the Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission approve a special permit application for an accessory apartment for William and Gina Hagan at 27 Dinwiddie Drive, map 100, lot 6-13, as shown on Assessor's map. Proposed subsurface sewer system, lot 13, Saddle Hill subdivision dated August 19, 2002, revised December 17, 2002, prepared by Russell Waldo, P.E. and L.S. The application was dated 6/24/19. This application is approved with the
Do we want to make a condition of the building permit, or is that just?
I would recommend including whether or not you're going to be granting a waiver of a professionally prepared site plan.
I think we can waive the professional site plan.
The application is approved with the following conditions: that we waive the professional second site plan.
And that,
The special permit is approved based on the finding that it conforms with the zoning code. The special permit is effective August 16, 2019, and upon filing with the town clerk.
yeah, I would also add that building permits and inspections will be taken out to verify safety of the permit.
Building permits, I don't know if we have.
Discussion? Any questions?
Our conversation, I don't know if we really have to make a comment about the permits and everything else taped in.
Well, if we don't, then it's approved without them.
Yeah, true, because we're after the fact.
Yeah.
Just the clarification, the waiver of the site plan. What's separate from the architectural plan that already exists?
That would be an engineered or survey, an actual A2 survey showing, since this was existing, and as Attorney Lee had said, there was a survey at the time of building the house, and that he's showing that there's adequate parking associated with that. He's requesting,
They want to make sure that they're not violating setback requirements.
I see.
Coverage requirements, but if it's part of the new construction that was done, it's all part of the same building.
were increase in coverage or drainage, things like
Something
that.
that
There are
should
certain
be
instances
required.
where, right, and typically with a special permit, a professionally prepared site plan is required. Since this is existing conditions, they're requesting a waiver of that.
So we have a motion to a second. I'll call the vote. All in favor? Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. That would make a meeting a little bit shorter, wouldn't it? Obviously, we are, as I mentioned earlier, the application for Bennett Hall, we'd like to request to continue this to 8/21/19. So moved. Can I get a second? All in favor? Thank you. Petrillo is going to be tabled to 9/4/19. Take a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you. Bernard and Sandra Lombardi, 70 Reeves Ave, map 9, lot 76, zone R2, special permit modification for 10 by 12 storage shed and a 6 by 9 foot 6 inch addition to a former rear porch to create a sunroom. Anybody here for the Lombardi application?
Lombardi are not here in the audience. However, this application also requires an inland wetland permit modification, and after speaking with the environmental planner, it appears that the Lombardis they were aware that this public hearing would need to be continued
Okay.
to the next meeting of
821?
8/21, and it seems they will make their presentation at that meeting as well. If we could get a motion to continue.
To 821? Okay, hold on, let me just, sorry to do this, sure we get the dates right. 821, great. Someone like to make a motion to continue this to our August 21st meeting?
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Moving quickly. Subdivision, that's not in. Have Titan Properties.
This is another one that will be tabled, that needs inland wetlands approval. Inland Wetlands Commission meets next week.
Busy on
So
the 20th.
timing-wise, I would table this, we are tabling that until
Okay.
the following week.
Richard? Motion. Table. Alan, would you second that for me?
Second.
All in favor? Thank you. Special permits, Vigliotti Construction.
This is just, I kind of changed the format a little bit
Okay.
of the agendas, just to let you be aware of applications that are still pending before the commission, but are not necessarily scheduled for tonight's meeting, just to give you an update of what's coming forward. Long Hill Road, Vigliotti Construction will be scheduled for a public hearing for an open space subdivision special permit concept next meeting.
And the other one is the coastal site plan application that's coming up as well.
And that's another one. These have already been received. They just are waiting on a public hearing.
So then we have applications to be received. This is Guilford Gatehouse West Management LLC, 2614 Boston Post Road, map 83, lot 20, zone TS2, site plan modification for sign package approval to include placement of a second sign for, quote, the Woods condominiums, the Woods, unquote, condominium development on interior lot with no road frontage. Receive and request action.
Mr. Anatra is here to present.
Welcome.
My name is Victor Anatra. The address is 2614 Boston Post Road. And I think, do you have copies of the site plan? I have 5 copies here. You can share if you would,
Every other. Sure. Yeah. Okay. Hey.
Basically, this is the whole site plan of the property, It's approximately 6 acres on the whole property. The front parcel, which is considered parcel B, if you see it on the map, that's where the gatehouse is, right on the frontage of the Boston Post Road. In the back, we have parcel A, which was separated to create the 5 condominiums in the back. Because we don't have any road frontage in the back lot, technically we couldn't put a sign on parcel B without this site plan modification. And basically we're trying to identify the project in the back and give direction to anyone that's looking for the woods, because there's no sign to direct them back there. And actually it's a different address. The address in the back is 2620 Boston Post Road. The address in the front is 2614 Boston Post Road, so it gets very confusing if somebody's looking for the property. So we wanted to put a very simple sign that just says the woods. I don't know, do you have a copy of the sign proposal? Well, here, pass this one
Thank you,
around.
we will.
And my understanding, Erin, this was already was passed to the design review committee.
Proposal was sent to the Design Review Committee. They have favorably reviewed the application, and they had no recommendations on that.
All right, so if you see that blue line that goes back to the condominiums, that's where that little red box is. That's where we'd like to put the proposed sign, right there by that driveway. Our main sign that we have for the whole complex is that little purple box down below, so it's not like they're right on top of each other. And that kind of is more identified to that driveway coming in. There's actually two driveway cuts onto the Boston Post Road. Initially, when we did the development, we only wanted one driveway cut, but the Transportation Department says, no, you're going to be building in the back there, so you might as well get your second cut right now. So that's kind of...
Does the purple sign also indicate the woods?
No.
No, that's for the gate.
That's for the gatehouse.
It's a multi-tenant.
Yep.
So we looked at the best solution to this change in signage would be to approve the sign package as is for the lot, to allow the second ground sign.
It looks like a nice sign. I mean, it's a good idea.
Are you going to put that number on here? This sign that's
Yes,
2620?
we were just talking about that earlier, that we should put the 2620 on there.
Yeah, because otherwise it'll be confusing.
Right. We just had somebody come the other day trying to find it. I couldn't find it. 2620, where is it? You know?
Yeah.
And the GPSs get all mixed up because they take them into 2614.
I never even knew that was back there.
You're going to bring that rock in, or does it exist?
The rock is already there.
It's already there, okay.
I put it in there, and I actually drilled the 3 holes in it, anticipating we can put the sign. Yeah, but if not, at least it's a decorative rock.
Vic, I know you said this, probably just didn't hear it. It's illuminated from the ground or from, it's not an illuminated, it's projection onto the sign.
Right, we were thinking just putting a couple LED lights just shining on it. It's going to be a 2-phase sign, too, by the way. So if you're coming from Brantford to Guilford, you'd see it. From Guilford to Brantford, you'd see it.
This is not a public hearing, it's just a site plan. I don't have to...
Correct.
I believe we have a motion. Would you like to read the motion first?
I would love to read the motion. Voted that the Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission approve a site plan revision for the Guilford Gatehouse West at 2614 Boston Post Road, map 83, lot 20, for sign package amendment to include a second ground sign on the property. The Woods, a residential community, 26 inches by 96 inches. Ground sign as shown in site plan application dated, received by P&Z Commission July 29, 2019. This application is approved with the following conditions. The ground sign shall comply with required front yard setbacks. 2, any changes to approved sign package shall require approval by the Planning and Zoning Commission. This application is approved based upon a finding that it has been reviewed favorably by the Design Review Committee and that it complies with the zoning code. The effective date of this approval is August 16th, 2019.
Yes.
Recommend adding condition number 3, that the street number be placed on the ground sign.
Is that condition okay, adding the street number?
Excuse me?
Is a condition of adding the street number?
I was
okay?
going to request that. So
Okay, terrific. In that case, we'll make it condition and we're all good.
On the third condition, that there will be a street number added to the sign.
Questions? Discussion? We have a motion. Is there a second? Call the vote. All in favor? Thank you. Thanks. Looks nice.
Thank you.
All right, Janice. Town of Guilford, Elizabeth Adams Middle School, 233 Church Street, map 53, lot 17. Zone R1 site plan modification to expand parking lot on northeastern portion of the property. Receive and request action.
That's all the papers back this way?
Thank you. Set that one down too.
Good evening, Janice Plasiak, Town Engineer for the Town of Guilford. I'm here to present to you the plan to expand parking at Adams Middle School on Church Street. We have a multi-phase plan that we have to present before you. The first phase is expected to be constructed this summer if approved, and we would like your consideration for approval of Phase 2 as well. And then there is a third phase that we have included just to kind of give you a concept as to kind of where we're going with the project at the request of the Board of Education. The first phase is to extend, there's an existing limit of pavement behind the portable units, which is on the north side of the school. And there is a little bit of parking that's along the side there. And then the Little League concession stand is about here. The plan is to repave this area, change the apron, to make a flat top catch basin, and make it a 24-foot wide drive aisle, to then add 18 parking spaces in total in this particular area on the side and rear of the portables. Included in this plan is stormwater management with a swale that's about 22 feet wide, a very shallow swale, which is kind of going to be built into the existing edge of the fields area to take the runoff from this paved area for the first inch of runoff and to kind of allow it to infiltrate. Anything that goes beyond that will kind of just run across the fields as it does currently into the storm drain systems. With this plan, we coordinated with the Board of Education Facilities Manager from the engineering department to provide some access into the fields on this side. We are leaving a no parking space here, which allows access into this area for future use and current uses, as well as to provide an escape turnaround area if someone goes in there and there's no parking spaces available. It's a pretty straightforward plan. We're pretty much staying close to existing grades. It's a pretty flat area, and it allows for much additional needed parking on the site. You may be familiar with some of the challenges of parking, not only related to the school, but also the use of the fields.
It used to be a basketball.
No, it's on the other side.
So this is,
I think it was.
no, there was a basketball.
There may have been prior to the portables, maybe?
And
The portables have been in place for
a long time.
a long time, but I think there was a paved area. We have an old site plan for the school that showed that as a large paved area, which I guess was probably used for play and
Are there
basketball.
any plans to remove the portable classrooms anytime? I mean, they're portable, so are they a permanent structure now on the
Yeah,
property?
they're pretty much, we call them the portables, but they're pretty much a permanent structure. They've been upgraded. Yeah, they're permanently in place, and they have a connection to the school now. Days old, used to have to walk outside to get there. Now has a walkway.
Are there any setback requirements for parking space to building? And
So there is currently a handicap accessible ramp that enters the back building, part of the modulars here, and that's being retained, so the edge of the building is really right here, so you have a distance here. And we are adding a 2-foot buffer on the side of the building with a lip curb in order to protect kind of the side of the building from the drive aisle. Currently, it's the pavement's right up
Okay.
against the road, so we're trying to add a little
Make sure no one
safety
just
feature.
doesn't pay attention and runs in the building?
Yeah, and, keeping people from losing their side, mirrors and things like that. We're tying in the roof leaders, which currently just fall on the asphalt into this catch basin to kind of control some of the water, to try and, prevent freezing and too much surface drainage on the.
And it's the spots on the right of the site plan by the bioswale that drain off into the swale?
This actual whole
I'm sorry, the
area
left.
drains to the back here.
Oh, okay.
So currently, we have pavement to about here that currently drains there. But we've sized this swale to take both what's existing and paved as the new pavement, 1 inch of runoff to be treated in this bioswale.
And the curb is cut, or there's no curves there, or? I'm sorry,
No
I can't-
curb, no curb. It's going to be a stone drip edge prior to the swale.
Cool.
So there's no curbing. We're proposing, leave a fence or guide rail here to protect, anyone from driving into the fields or into the swale.
Is it being added because there's so much additional use during Little League stuff or school events or?
It's a combination of both school events, after-school events, and even for teachers and staff. Just during the day, there's insufficient parking.
How many spaces exactly is this plan gonna give you?
So this plan here is 18 additional spaces with one, let's see, my notes. This Phase 1 has 18 additional spaces, and because of the number of spaces on the property has increased to a certain threshold, we are then adding one van accessible handicap space per code.
Where are people parking now? You have an overflow number of vehicles.
77.
On the car, anywhere on the grass.
So they are
Everywhere.
damaging the grass.
Everywhere. Yeah.
Seems like a high risk of cars being hit by foul balls in that area during baseball games.
I think there's a soccer field out here, just beyond the bioswale, and I believe the ball fields are over here. I'm not exactly sure in terms of how, there's always that risk, I guess. There's already parking along this edge here.
Park at your own risk.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Secondary.
And the use, is more, not just for the ball field, so they're parking during the day during school hours where there is no ball, activities going on in the ball field.
Also the increase of parent pickup.
Yeah, so we'll get into, I'd like to present Phase 2 to you, because when Cliff came to us, his one concern was really the problem with student drop-off and the conflict that exists on the south side of the building with the apron for the buses is shared by the, drop-off area and causes a lot of confusion and safety hazard. So we did explore further expansion of the plan to a Phase 2, which would keep what we have at the rear. This is the module building here. Now this is the existing area of the parking lot. This is Route 77, the school, the existing side parking lot that kind of wraps around in front of the modules here. And currently we have one curb cut that brings you into an over-wide parking lot with a very over-wide center aisle that then you park on this side along the school and you park on the far side here, and then you have this existing parking here.
Where's the basketball court in relation to this?
The basketball court is on the south side. This isn't still on the north
Still on
side.
the north side?
We're still on the north side, but going from this new Phase 1 rear proposal to this new Phase 2 to address the entrance into that new parking area as you go closer to the street. And the idea here would be to, instead of having the one curb cut, you would close that off and basically create two curb cuts, one way each, which would allow for student drop-off right at the sidewalk, at the curb line, in the mornings or in the afternoons for pickup, separating the parking away from that area to a center aisle area of parking, and then also adding there's certainly currently parking on this side now, but it will be bumping into a little bit of the landscaped area currently to create some more parking here, which will also serve the social services building here. And this will allow for parents to pull in, drop their child off, circulate around, and pull out, as well as for anyone who wants to utilize this parking area to pull in, park, either decide to go here, go to the back, or circulate around and come back out or park here. So it really, provides an opportunity to address the concerns of the south lot conflicts with the buses and the drop-off and moving it to the north side of the building.
Are there any thoughts to having designated kind of crosswalk areas, or is it just you get out, you park, your kid goes right across the street, right through traffic?
No, the kids are going to actually, they're going to pull in and stop here and drop them off right at the curb and sidewalk. So the children...
There you're not parking to drop your kid off, you're just dropping your
Yeah,
child
so if
off.
you're just dropping off, you're getting dropped off right adjacent to the school, not having to traverse the parking lot at all. The parking here would be primarily for teacher parking. They'll kind of set that up so that most teachers will arrive before student drop-off occurs. And then I think they're going to have any visitor parking really be on the south side of the school instead. So in this case, we're just kind of reconfiguring this whole parking area and curb cuts, and it wasn't really an effort to add parking spaces, but more to add safety. So in this scenario, we only gained 2 additional parking spaces above the first 18.
I think the other advantage of that is the angled parking. So if you're pulling in, having been there a lot, if you're parked perpendicular, it can be tricky to get out, whereas if you're on an angle.
Yeah, and with the one-way circulation, you really do need to, in the width of the aisles, need to have the angled parking. We did run this plan also by the Mike Shove from the fire department, make sure it satisfied their needs for fire access to the building that they currently have and will continue to have. And it works for them as well. And then just to give you a taste of what may...
Can I ask one question?
Sure.
It looks like there's currently 3 handicap spots in that area. Where are you going to move them?
So there are some handicap spots. There's a van accessible spot here. There's a handicap spot here. There's another one here as well.
Because there's 2 along the building as well.
Yeah, and I believe we're relocating.
Are you within the count?
Yeah, so we're maintaining, actually, as I said, in the first phase, we had to add one of the van spots, which is going to go here. And I believe we will be relocating some of the handicap spaces to the south lot in this phase as well.
And then the second question is, it looks like you're going to be disrupting some of the walkway to that social services building. It doesn't look like you have any sort of redesign of that walkway on that plan there.
Yeah, I think there's currently a walkway that comes out right here.
I just didn't know
Yes,
if there's
and
an
that will
elevation.
line, there's a walkway here, and that will line up with the hashed area for the
Is there an
handicap.
elevation change there?
No, it's pretty flat. Yeah. Our elevation change is on the lot adjacent is really back here, and that's what I'll get into. In phase 3, if we're to try and move towards more parking, and we're calling it phase 3 because we do have some challenges and unknowns currently with regard to rock ledge back here, because there's a knoll at the rear of the property. So this would stay all intact in terms of phase 2 improvements all the way up to here. And then the addition of additional parking spaces could be achieved with an island staying here and then adding these spaces here, and then reconfiguring and widening this area that was parallel parking to actually be 90-degree parking. And these are options we're still kind of working out whether or not it's something they may want to do, and that's not something that we're looking for your approval on. And then we have even explored the possibility of if the social services building is no longer needed, because there is a facility study going on now trying to figure out where people need to be, and there's the idea that this parcel may become vacant possibly in the future, and if that does, that opens up a lot of possibilities to break into additional circulation and parking areas in this lot, which we've already kind of laid out some concept plans that will continue to work with this layout. So it's not like we're undoing something we already
So
did.
we're looking for phase 1 and phase 2 approvals.
Yes, please.
I would mention that just looking at the aerial here, Matt's comment about foul balls is well taken. It's something you should think about. You might end up with an issue of this. A lot of this parking you're proposing is literally right next to a baseball field. So just something for you guys to be aware of.
And we've had that problem in the past, we've been able to string up a deck to protect the vehicles. So if we do find it is a continual problem, we do have options that we can take.
Yeah, and they do currently use that flat grass area for overflow parking now. So it's
Free range.
not a new concept to park back there, but point well taken in terms of limiting liabilities and damage.
What is the proposed timeline for the completion of phase 1 and phase 2?
So my understanding, and Cliff can maybe speak to it, but we're ready to go with phase 1 with your approval, and I think he's intending to build it for school starts. So he has this added parking available for this school year. We do have some work to do on Phase 2 with regard to, there is one utility pole that needs to be relocated, and we will need DOT permits for the, change of the curb cuts. So we have to, approach those entities for their reviews and approvals, and so that won't allow for construction this year. And this is going to be disruptive to the school, and we'll have to wait until school's over into next construction season.
Yeah. Any other questions?
I have one more question, Leslie. I think that bioswale is a really cool addition. I don't know if that was part of the Board of Education's mandate, or
Well, it's sort
you
of a
wanted to do
requirement
it, or-
of your zoning regulations that we
okay.
treat, stormwater runoff. It's something we require of other applicants, and,
Are you going to have any signage for the kids to explain what's happening there?
it's really going to be uneventful because it's going to be it's going to be grass and mowed. It's only about a foot deep and it has very shallow side edges, so if you walked across it, you wouldn't necessarily stumble. You might feel it a little bit. So it's not going to be obvious. It's not going to be a rain garden or anything. It's just going to be grass.
Are you guys lighting it at all?
There's currently, I think, some building packs that he's going to utilize for this new first phase back here. And we are showing there's currently some lighting here on the plan for phase 2 that we're relocating because they're in the way of the new parking. We're relocating this light from a parking space over to here in the grassy area, which would in phase 3 become an island and save some trees as well. And we're relocating the current light here over to this location. And I think the remaining lighting on the site is really along the school.
We good? Would someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion. They voted that the Guilford and Planning and Zoning Commission provide a site plan application for the town of Guilford, approve a site plan application for the town of Guilford, Adams Middle School, expansion of parking lot and circulation improvements at 233 Church Street, map 53, lot 17, as shown in an application dated August 5th, 2019, and associated plans entitled Town of Guilford, Adams Middle School Parking Improvements Plan, sheets 1 through 4, prepared by Town of Guilford Engineering Department, 50 Boston Street, Guilford, Connecticut, dated 7/20/2019. Do we want to adjust this to say that it's for phase 1 and 2? This application is approved with the following conditions. Core wattles, hay bales, or silt fence must be installed around the area of disturbance and around any soil stockpiles. Catch basins located or adjacent to the work shall be protected with filter fabric or silt sacks. 2, all necessary CT/DOT permits shall be obtained prior to any site work. 3, the Town of Guilford zoning enforcement officer shall be notified to inspect sedimentation and erosion control measures prior to any site work. Soil erosion and sedimentation control measures shall be maintained until vegetation is established or suitable materials installed to the satisfaction of the zoning enforcement officer. This application is approved based upon a finding that it conforms with the zoning code. The effective date of approval is August 16th, 2019.
Second. Discussion? I mean, I think it's a good project. It's well thought out. We're doing the first 2 phases, not the third. It seemed a little up in the air on the third, so we'll see you again on the third at some point.
You gotta get the first 2 in before the third.
That being said, I'll call the vote. All in favor? Thank you. Have fun.
Thank you.
Yeah, I saw that. Mr. Lombardi, I think we tabled your application to the we continued it to the 21st.
As we were waiting for wetlands, since you weren't here.
My impression was that I was presenting it tonight and you were going to continue it to the 21st, but can we reopen?
Either way, if you'd like to hear this portion.
If you'd like to do it tonight, we can do it tonight.
That would be great.
Would someone like to make a motion to untable?
I'll make a motion on the table.
Or continue.
To uncontinue, or to continue. Recontinue. I'm
It's a
not sure
public
exactly what the
hearing.
terminology- Certainly. So Bernard and Sandra Lombardi, 70 Reeves Ave, map 9, lot 76, zone R2, special permit modification for a 10 by 12 storage shed and a 6 by 9'6" addition to a former rear porch to create a sunroom.
I like the town engineer's method of avoiding a clumsy. So the site plan, the site is at our house at 70 Reeves Avenue, and the application is for the installation of a storage unit and a small addition for a sunroom, extension of a porch to a sunroom. The project, this application has been before the commission at least twice. The first time was for us to install a garage on the side of the house, and that was primarily for obviously auto storage, but also for an office at the second level, the attic level of the garage. That's no longer a need for Sandra and I. The second proposal was to add a large media room, and I'll do it from here. This is the area of the existing house in the light can, and the proposed storage shed is in the darker tan, and the sunroom addition in the darker tan. What had been approved before is a 16 by 22 foot addition to the north side of the house, and that's now where we're proposing the storage unit. So this element was approved by your planning commission at one time, and the wetlands commission as well.
Excuse me, Mr.
That's
Lombardi, if I could just interject, and for those who are not aware, the reason this is before you is a special permit because the lot itself is under 10,000 square feet.
Yes, thank you.
In an R1, R2 zone, it requires approval by the commission
My
as a
name is
special
Marty
permit.
Lombardi. I'm one of the owners of 70 Reeves Avenue along with my wife Sandra. We live at 70 Reeves Avenue as well. So that was once approved, and as you can see now, the proposal is for a fairly significant reduction in what our storage room needs are. There is a full basement at 70 Reeves Avenue, but the additional storage unit will accommodate several of the items that we have currently stored out in the yard, and that would like not to have to store it there anymore.
Question, what are we waiting on?
I'm sorry?
Wetlands, sorry.
There was a inland wetlands application for this, and
Yes.
will be before the Inland Wetlands Commission next week for modification. So technically, we need to wait for inland wetlands to take action before planning.
Yes. The Inland Wetlands Commission had approved that first edition as well. The plan it's the floor plan that's shown on this site plan is the gray area again is the storage unit, and the sunroom addition is this 6 foot by 9.5 foot addition off the end of our what was the rear porch. In the first floor plan, the kitchen lies here, an open living room, one bedroom, and a small media room here and a bar. Several years ago, right after we bought this property, we added to the second floor, and that again went through the planning commission to provide a master bedroom and bath and laundry on a new second floor. Again, it was because it's an undersized property by about 250 square feet, but it is undersized. So the 6 by 9.5 foot media room here is here. The 10 by 12 foot storage unit is at this position. And the application, the drawings that I sent along with my application did not include this, showing this storage unit. It was just blank. So what I'd like to do is submit a copy of that revised plan that shows that storage unit.
Give it to Aaron, would be great.
Now, I have sent notices to the neighbors, and I think I sent the certificates, I mailed directly to the commission. I mailed or hand-delivered an application to the commission that consisted of a transmittal, an introduction letter, all the applications, and I believe you have it. If not, I have a whole package.
The application is here
Okay.
on the record, yes.
Aaron, the proposed sunroom within setbacks?
Correct. It complies with the zoning setbacks.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
The setbacks, I've done that here, I think we're required to have an 8-foot setback. The setback from the storage unit is 15 feet. The setback from the sunroom addition to the property line is 25 feet 8 inches. And the listing of what existed and what is proposed is on that site plan, and they're all well within the setback areas. The exterior elevation of the additions, this is the sunroom, which is the rear elevation of the house. That's 6-foot addition with additional windows to the side. This is the south elevation, which would then face our neighbor's property at that location. That's south, and to my right is north. That's this elevation, added 2 windows. And then what is the east elevation, you just see beyond the existing chimney, and there are 2 windows added there. The way, since this is north, the sun simply rises in the morning and passes over this corner of the house and sets then to the west, and really gets some beautiful sun at that side of the house, and that's why we'd like to provide that addition.
All looks very lovely.
Pardon?
It looks lovely.
Yeah. The storage unit is a standard unit that is purchased from a company in Clinton, Connecticut, or in Westbrook, Connecticut, and that's shown here, colored elevation here. This will be the street elevation of the storage unit, the north elevation of the storage unit. Am I right? No, I'm sorry, the east elevation of the storage unit, and this is the east, the south and mirror image of the north elevation of that storage unit.
So the door will be facing the house?
No, the door will actually face the street. Yeah, which will be that side of the unit. The other great advantage of this versus the plan we had before is that these are the existing elevations that are shown on this site plan. And they essentially remain unchanged because there's a nice flat stuff spot in the north part of the house where we want to set the storage unit. In the previous application, when this was an addition that came off the house, we filled that side of the house, that would be the east side of the house, and had to fill a portion of the west side of the house as well. So none of that has to occur at this stage. I'll try to stay brief, and that's essentially...
Obviously, we have to wait for inland wetlands.
Yes, you do.
Under normal circumstances, I would suggest that we waive the second public hearing, but because we have to do it anyway, we're just going to do that.
Okay, so next, or that's next...
21st.
21st?
Show up and we'll basically probably ask you about inland wetlands, how that went.
Okay.
And then if anything has
that's on the
changed?
14th.
Correct. Next week.
Yeah. Okay.
We have two letters to read into
letters
the
here.
record. One is from Kevin McGee, environmental planner, and the other is from Dennis Johnson, director of health. Do you have them?
From Kevin McGee, environmental planner, RE special permit, Bernard and Sandra Lombardi, 70 Reeves Ave, Guilford, Connecticut, lot 9, map 9, lot 76. The applicant is proposing to modify the previous approval by installing a 120 square foot shed instead of a 320 square foot addition, along with construction of a 57 square foot sunroom. Since this is a modification of inland wetlands commission approval, a revised plan should be submitted to inland wetlands for review of their August 14th meeting. As part of the original inland wetlands commission approval, the wetlands enforcement officer is required to inspect the erosion sedimentation control measures prior to any site work. So it's pretty straightforward.
Dennis.
And one from Dennis, go ahead.
Director of Health, Dennis Johnson, dated July 31st, 2019, Lombardi, Bernard and Sandra, 70 Reeves Avenue, map 8, lot 76. The application's proposed storage and sunroom additions do not conflict with the design capacity or location of the septic system currently serving the residential home. It is recommended that this applicant's proposed use be approved.
We will see you on the 21st.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Make a motion to continue to the 21st.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you. Special permits, this is receive and set public hearing. Michael and Candace Van Emenes, I'm guessing on that. 321 Foxwood Road, map 88, lot 19-20, zone R8. Special permit for an accessory apartment, 640 square foot living space and new attached garage, 360 square feet. Receive and request public hearing date set for 8/21.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Coastal Area Management Site Plan, Sean Portley, 65 Sachems Head Road, map 21, lot 22, zone R5. Coastal Site Plan application to remove existing single-family dwelling and associated utilities and construct new single-family dwelling, apparent driveway, utilities, subsurface sewage disposal system. Receive and request public hearing date to be set for 9/18/19.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Last one is a mandatory referral from the Board of Selectmen at its July 15, 2019 meeting. Recommend to the Planning and Zoning Commission under CGS 8-24 that the town takes ownership of the upper fields at A.W. Cox School from the Board of Education.
This, we have a letter from the first selectman
Oh.
to the commission.
Okay.
Philip Johnson, Planning and Zoning Commission, 50 Boston Street, Guilford, Connecticut. Reason mandatory referral. This is dated July 31st, 2019. Dear Philip, in accordance with Connecticut General Statute, Section 8-24, I am forwarding you the following request to you for your consideration at your August 7th, 2019 meeting. Mandatory referral. The Board of Selectmen at its July 15th, 2019 meeting recommended to the Planning and Zoning Commission under Connecticut General Statutes 8-24 that the town takes ownership of the upper fields at A.W. Cox School from the Board of Education. Thank you for your consideration in this matter. Matthew T. Hoey, First Selectman.
The answer is I don't know. If there's a question to be had, it's, why,
What is a mandatory referral and what are we considering?
basically,
At this point, you're acting in your planning capacity. So when the town purchases or sells or transfers any land or property that requires by statute a referral to the planning commission.
Going from the Board of Ed to the town.
It's
The town purchased?
It's owned by the
No, we
town.
already own
I
it.
think this is, this may be a little overkill. This is a management issue.
The Board of Education owns the property now. so
The
it's
town
longer-
owns the property now.
already owns
But it's
the
probably
It may
managed
be-
by the Board of Ed, isn't my guess?
This is a management
Okay.
issue.
I say we kick this up and let them deal with it. If that's,
This is a state
There is
sort
no-
of deal that we
There-
have to.
It doesn't change any access issues, does it?
No.
It's pretty
There's no change. It's just the change of who's going to maintain the fields, essentially.
We are. It's just a matter of.
Still- we
we
still are, so.
Correct. So I think this is a very conservative approach to this.
Sure, I'll make the motion.
Second.
I gotta read it. Okay, proposed motion for mandatory referral, voted, I think.
Second.
Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission approve a mandatory referral, 8-24, as recommended by the Board of Selectmen to transfer ownership of the upper fields at A.W. Cox from the Board of Education to the town.
Very good.
Discussion? Yeah, I mean, just the discussion and the proposal, it sounds like a transfer of ownership. It sounds like the town is currently acquiring the property rather than having already acquired it, but not taking on the maintenance.
Well, they own it through the school system.
So that
But it would just
that
be the town
language
It's owned,
is deceiving.
I would imagine that the word ownership is probably not the right word to use in this scenario. But that's literally what the referral is given to us as.
presented from our legal department to ensure compliance with that statute. It may be a very conservative way of
Yeah.
approaching this.
It's a state mandate that we do it.
It's above our pay.
It's above our pay grade, but we don't.
I can get you that information, Jamie,
Okay.
on what an 8-24 referral
Do we have
is.
a motion, we have a second?
Can understand it a little
Call the
clearer.
vote, all in favor? Thank you very much.
Please,
Approval of our minutes from June 19th, 2000. Does anyone remember that meeting? And have you had a chance to review the minutes?
I make a motion to approve the minutes as they were.
I'm going to have to abstain on that.
I'll second it.
Great. I read them and they appear to be substantially correct, so I will
Yes.
call a vote, approval of minutes. Thank you. Someone like to make a motion to adjourn with no further business? Second? Discussion? Call the vote, all in favor? Thank you. Have a good night.
You're supposed to say, is there no serious.
Yeah, so there's no further business before this commission. And Peter wants to go home